not only did he allow me to come back, he says that I can use you. I can vindicate you. Just like he did with Samson in the Bible, he vindicated Samson. He raised Samson up out of a dungeon where he was in the grist mill, and all he did was walk around blind with his hair shaved off and his muscles and all of his strength was gone, and he's blind and he's captured and he's a slave. The Bible says that his hair began to grow again. And he began to find out where his true strength came from. It came from the Lord. It didn't come from his hair. It came from a relationship he had with the living God. And we read about Jonah, and Jonah is called to go to Nineveh. Jonah rebelled and he run in the opposite direction. Did exactly the opposite of what God asked him to do. Swallowed up by a great fish. Prays a sweet prayer. We'll even read it so we can say we read the Bible. Jonah's prayer. Then Jonah prayed unto the Lord his God out of the fish's belly and said, I cried by reason of my affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. Out of the belly of hell cried I, and thou heardest my voice. For thou hast cast me into the deep, in the midst of the seas, and the floods compassed me about. All thy billows and thy waves passed over me. Then I said, I am cast out of thy sight, yet I will look again toward thy holy temple. The waters compassed me about, even to the soul. The depth closed me round about. The weeds were wrapped around my head. I went down to the bottoms of the mountains. The earth with her bars was about me forever. Yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption. O Lord my God, when my soul fainted within me, I remembered the Lord. Let me say that again. When my soul fainted within me, I remembered the Lord. And my prayer came unto thee, into thine holy temple. They that observe lying vanities forsake their own mercy, but I will sacrifice unto thee with the voice of thanksgiving. I will pay that I have vowed. Salvation is of the Lord. It says, and the Lord spake unto the fish, and it vomited out Jonah upon the dry land. That's awesome. Jordan, that's awesome. The Lord gave Jonah victory over that situation. Jonah's in the middle of a storm. He's in the belly of a whale, the belly of a fish. Death's probably at his door. He's been there for 3 days. That's awesome, Jordan. That fish spit him out. It vomited him out. That's awesome. Ain't you glad it don't end there? In Jonah chapter 3, verse 1, it says, and the word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time. My God's a God of second chances. My God's a God of third chances and 55th chances and 96th chances. My God's a God of second chances. And when I was 9 years old and I was saved by the grace of God, as I began to become older and understand that there was probably more to being a child of God than just going to church and getting plaques for never missing. And then as I become a drug addict and think that my family won't talk to me, nobody likes me, everybody puts surveillance around their house because they don't want me around. The school I go to that offered me a full scholarship don't even want me there. How could God ever want me or want to use me? And then I read stories like that. And I read stories about people like Samson and people like David and people that messed up and how God still used them. What a blessing to know. What a great truth to know and understand that there's nothing that you have done or can do that God can forgive, erase, and use for His glory and for His honor. When I realized that I wasn't too bad to be used by God, that I hadn't strayed away, that I hadn't messed it up, that I hadn't been that big of a screw up, that bad that even God couldn't forgive me. That's when I began to understand how much He loved me, how much He wanted to be a part of my life, and how personal the relationship is with Him. And that this guy, He can use me. He can use me. Vindication is more than just being set free from drug addiction. I told them in Celebrate Recovery, there's drug addicts that go to hell every day. All right? That don't know the Lord. Do you know there's people that are not drug addicts that go to hell every day? You don't have to be a drug addict to go to hell. You don't have to be a drug addict to be astray from God. You don't have to be a drug addict to be out of the will of God. You can pay your taxes on time. Still die and go to hell. Vindication is more than just victory from drug addiction. Being a victor of drug addiction is great. That's great. And I'm proud to